We good? Okay. So the topic I want to talk about is a song that is, what was it? I don't even remember the topic. Okay. It was a song that has a deeper meaning than you'd expect. And my argument is that Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus is such a deep song. She's talking about like the Jonas Brother, Liam, who knows? Okay, I'm not serious about this. But I do want to make an argument that I think that most songs are actually deeper than you anticipate them to be. So most of the time, and I'm speaking for myself, but I think I can kind of generalize for everybody else, that when you listen to music, you're typically doing other things. So you're driving in your car, you're doing homework, maybe studying, and you really can only pay so much attention to the music. Most of your focus, if it is focused on the music itself, is on like the acoustical properties of it. So I think that rarely does anyone really sit down and actually listen and read the lyrics and understand truly what the song is about. And I typically don't do this. I listen to a lot of music, and an album that kind of struck me particularly was the Arcade Fire album that came out, I think this past week. I listened to it 3 or 4 times, and then I decided after listening to it that maybe I'd check out and actually read the lyrics and see what was going on. So I found this website that does a great job breaking down the lyrics, and it actually has an in-depth analysis from people who have some sort of sick inside information about what's going on exactly with the band, what they're thinking when they wrote this. And I learned that the album was really nothing about what I had thought from just casually listening to it. And I've kind of gone in and looked at some other albums and some other songs in particular and just noticed that a lot of the times we're focused on the hooks, the acoustics of it. We don't really look into the meaning. And I think that most songs in general are going to have a lot deeper of a meaning than you'd expect if you really look into it.
All right, awesome. So let's get this feedback started. To start off with, Mark declared projection. What do you guys think about Mark's projection? And as you're talking, I'm going to write down 3 main points. Oh, you want to do this? Okay. Dylan will write down 3 main points for Mark to work on. So, projection.
I could hear him fine, but I think it would have been better if it was louder.
You said, what did you say?
I said I could hear him fine, but I think it just would have been better if it was a little louder.
Let's hear a demonstration.
I agree. It would have been better if it was a little bit louder. Is that better?
Nice.
Okay.
How about all the way back there? Was that?
Agreed. I can hear, Mark, you can
Yeah.
improve so much on that because before I had to really strain myself.
Yeah.
So I can hear you perfectly fine, but it's not strong enough.
The challenge for me is when I speak louder, like I'm trying to right now, it's harder for me to really connect with it because it feels a little bit forced for me to speak this loud. So, but I think if I get more comfortable doing that, then it'll get better.
Well, it's not. Oh, go ahead.
All right. That's an interesting point. And the thing about when you project, not only are you increasing the volume, but you kind of lay off this idea of confidence. And you just brought up an interesting point. Well, I don't feel like it's myself when I project, right? And this regard is almost like a feedback mechanism. And I know that's okay. Well, I know it's an engineering term, but it's the idea basically that when you project, while it might not sound confident to you, as you project, the audience thinks you sound confident, and because the audience thinks you're confident in that regard, you are confident. See what I'm saying? It's kind of interesting, I know.
Yeah, I like it. It's like a snowball effect,
It is.
right?
It's definitely a snowball effect. So that's just something to keep in mind, that even though I know when we talk about projection, we talk about volume, there's more to it than just that.
Definitely.
Yes.
I have a suggestion as well. I just thought of this. I don't know if it actually works, but if it feels unnatural, maybe you can pretend like you're talking to either Nick or Nick.
Correct.
Okay. Maybe you could pretend you're like talking to somebody because your tone's naturally conversational. I felt like you were just talking to me one-on-one. So if you just extend that to the back row person.
Well, that's my problem. Normally, I'm not a loud person, so it's like it's hard for me.
Right. Yeah. I
Well,
don't know.
what advice would you have?
That's my work.
I felt your volume was appropriate for the space, but you didn't vary it, Mark.
Yeah.
You kind of kept it constant the whole time. And did you notice when Marty spoke back here, you're sitting in the center, but his volume filled the room, and I think you varied it a little bit. You spoke loudly and a little softly, but I think varying it would be really good. And one thing I noticed, you used all 4 of your gestures.
Yep.
You had one-handed and two-handed in here and a few out here. And you had good use of the thirds. You walked over there and talked, you looked in the middle and talked, and you walked over here and talked. So your body movement was good. Eye contact 100%, you glance down a little bit, so it's like in the 90-95% range, but that's still adequate.
Thank you.
I think a comment on your volume, the variation itself, I think, can help prevent you from feeling like it's forced.
I see what you're saying.
Because if you put a little bit of an emphasis on one particular thing, but reel back for something else, you don't have to force yourself the entire time of your speech.
Excellent. So you got all that, Dylan?
Try my best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
Marty?
I'm sorry, I have one last thing. I know. One improvement and one thing you did very well. In terms of improvement, maybe slow down a little bit. I'm sure you've heard this time and time again. It's the idea of the pause, right? And of course, it depends on what kind of talk you're giving. If you were giving a consultation speech, then what you did was perfect. But when you're doing something like trying to persuade me that Miley Cyrus's song is actually really meaningful, then you kind of want to slow down. You know, take it one step at a time. Kind of break it down for us. And then pauses do a fantastic job of doing something like that. In terms of what you did really well, he mentioned the hand motions. And I talked a little bit about this at the last meeting, but you also kind of demonstrated. Like when you talked about the list, you do like if you had an imaginary list, right here you go with this, 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 and this. And I think that really did a great job of serving the point.
Thank you.
One way you can improve your projection is by yelling at the wall. I did it sometimes when I'm in my car. Traffic's really bad. Really boosts up your mentality, makes you really happy and confident, and you get used to it. And a lot of things is just about getting used to performing a certain task, and it becomes, the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. The easier it is for you to do it, the more of it almost comes to you in certain ways. So you always have that skill of increasing or projecting your voice more when you want to. So I don't know, just something.
It's a good point.
But you are improving on that. That's
Thank you.
a good thing.
Just to touch up on what Monty said, he brought up a good point when he said slow down occasionally at the right time. I also agree with both what Miller and Marty said. In terms of, I don't want to say it was a monotone, not just in volume that it wasn't varied, but I also thought the speed of delivery could have been varied, the cadence of it, and the use of pauses may have helped in that.
Excellent feedback, guys. So, do we have as Dylan likes to say, a champion number 2?
I want to put one stipulation for the rest of the speakers. Whenever somebody uses a verbal distraction, Victor, we all raise our hands just like we did in the activity.
Okay, good idea.
Victor, you had maybe 5 or 6 thumbs.
Sorry for calling you out.
And now that we've analyzed volume very thoroughly with Mark, let's see if we can demonstrate some of these characteristics. It's feedback for everyone, not just Mark. So is Victor our next champion? All right, let's go.
What do you want to work on?
We'll work on projection.
Projection. All right.
There.
You're yelling.